The day the heart of American finance stopped beating. Imagine a sunny afternoon in the heart of New York City, where the rhythm of Wall Street echoes with the bustling energy of brokers, bankers, and businessmen. It's September 16, 1920, and the financial district is alive with the hum of commerce. But suddenly, in a flash of smoke and fire, this serene scene transforms into chaos. A horse-drawn cart, seemingly ordinary and unremarkable, becomes the epicenter of one of the most devastating and mysterious terrorist attacks in American history. The explosion rips through the air, shattering windows and sending a deadly shockwave down the narrow streets. The once bustling heart of American finance is now a battlefield, strewn with debris, shattered glass, and the bodies of the dead and injured. The blast kills 38 people and injures hundreds more, leaving Wall Street in a state of shock and panic. But who was behind this heinous act? Why did they choose Wall Street, the very symbol of American capitalism? And how did this tragedy shape the future of the United States? These are the questions that have haunted historians and investigators for over a century, and in this documentary, we will explore the dark and twisted path that led to the Wall Street bombing of 1920. To understand the significance of the Wall Street bombing, we must first delve into the social and political climate of the time. The United States in the early 20th century was a nation on the edge, grappling with the aftershocks of World War I, the rise of radical political movements, and the fear of communism spreading across the globe. The Red Scare had gripped the nation, as fears of a Bolshevik revolution taking root in America led to widespread paranoia and suspicion. Labor strikes were erupting across the country, as workers demanded better wages and working conditions, while anarchists and radicals sought to overthrow the capitalist system. It was a time of great unrest and uncertainty, where the divide between the rich and the poor seemed insurmountable, and the American dream appeared to be slipping away from the grasp of ordinary citizens. In this volatile environment, Wall Street stood as the ultimate symbol of wealth, power, and capitalism. It was the beating heart of the American financial system, where fortunes were made and lost in the blink of an eye. But to many, it also represented the excesses and inequalities of the capitalist system, making it a prime target for those who sought to tear down the existing order. The morning of September 16, 1920, began like any other. Bankers and brokers filled the streets, eager to start their day, while clerks and stenographers hurried to their offices. The atmosphere was one of routine, with little hint of the catastrophe that was about to unfold. At precisely 12:01 p.m., as the bells of nearby churches tolled the noon hour, the ordinary horse-drawn cart parked near the corner of Wall Street and Broad Street exploded with a force that shook the entire city. The cart, loaded with 100 pounds of dynamite and 500 pounds of heavy, cast-iron sash weights, had been strategically placed to inflict maximum damage. The explosion was so powerful that it could be heard as far away as New Jersey. Shrapnel from the bomb tore through the air, striking anyone in its path. The nearby J.P. Morgan building, a symbol of American financial power, bore the brunt of the blast, with its windows shattered and its walls scarred by the force of the explosion. The scene that followed was one of unimaginable horror. Bodies lay strewn across the street, some decapitated by the flying debris. Survivors staggered through the wreckage, their faces and clothes covered in blood and dust. Screams of pain and terror filled the air, as the injured begged for help amidst the chaos. In the aftermath, emergency responders and ordinary citizens alike rushed to the scene, desperately trying to assist the wounded and search for survivors. But the scale of the devastation was overwhelming, and many of the victims were beyond help. In the days and weeks that followed, the nation demanded answers. Who could have committed such a brutal and senseless act? The FBI, then known as the Bureau of Investigation, launched an intense investigation, combing through the wreckage for clues and interviewing hundreds of witnesses. But despite their best efforts, the investigation quickly hit a wall. There were no obvious suspects, and the attackers had left no clear evidence behind. The only clue was a stack of flyers found in a nearby mailbox, bearing the message, "Remember, we will not tolerate any longer. Free the political prisoners or it will be sure death for all of you." The flyers were signed by the American anarchist fighters, but beyond this, there was little to go on. The investigation dragged on for months, with the authorities chasing down every lead, no matter how small. The Bureau of Investigation even brought in foreign experts, including a Scotland Yard detective, to assist in the case. But despite their efforts, the identity of the bombers remained a mystery. Theories abounded, with some suggesting that the attack was the work of anarchists, while others pointed to Bolsheviks or other radical groups. Some even speculated that the bombing was part of a larger international conspiracy aimed at destabilizing the American economy. But as time passed, the trail grew cold, and the case remained unsolved. The Wall Street bombing became a symbol of the nation's vulnerability, a stark reminder that even the most powerful and secure institutions could be brought to their knees by a single act of terror. In the wake of the bombing, Wall Street slowly rebuilt itself, but the scars of that day remained. The financial district was forever changed, as new security measures were implemented to prevent future attacks. The bombing also fueled the ongoing Red Scare, as fear of radicalism and communism continued to grip the nation. For the victims and their families, the bombing was a personal tragedy that left a lasting mark. Many of the survivors struggled with the physical and emotional scars of that day, while the families of the dead were left to mourn their loss. The bombing also had a profound impact on American society as a whole. It was a wake-up call that the nation was not immune to the forces of terror and violence, and it forced Americans to confront the harsh realities of a world that was rapidly changing. Despite the passage of time, the mystery of the Wall Street bombing remains unsolved. The identity of the bombers has never been definitively determined, and the motives behind the attack are still a matter of speculation. Some historians believe that the bombing was the work of Italian anarchists, possibly linked to the Sacco and Vanzetti case, while others suggest that it was part of a larger campaign of violence carried out by radical groups. But without concrete evidence, these theories remain just that, speculation. The Wall Street bombing is a haunting reminder of the fragility of peace and security in a world filled with uncertainty and danger. It is a story that deserves to be remembered, not just for the lives that were lost, but for the lessons it teaches us about the power of hate and the resilience of the human spirit. As we look back on the events of September 16, 1920, we are reminded of the enduring impact of the Wall Street bombing on American history. It was a tragedy that shook the nation to its core and left a legacy of fear and uncertainty that still resonates today. But it also serves as a testament to the strength and resilience of the American people, who refused to be cowed by terror and instead chose to rebuild and move forward. The Wall Street bombing is a story of both loss and survival, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is hope for a better future. As we reflect on this forgotten chapter of American history, we must ask ourselves, what can we learn from the Wall Street bombing? How can we prevent such tragedies from happening again? And what does this story tell us about the world we live in today? These are the questions that we must grapple with as we seek to understand the true legacy of the Wall Street bombing of 1920. So, as we bring this documentary to a close, we invite you to share your thoughts and insights in the comments below. Let's continue the conversation and keep this important story alive for future generations. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more in-depth documentaries on the events that have shaped our world. Thank you for watching.